If there's something that I absolutely love about being Irish, it's the fact that Ireland itself has a huge tapestry of mythology, lore, and basically has a story to be told for every occasion. One of the most fascinating stories of our country's history, or folklore, that blurs the lines between what is fiction and what is actual reality, is the tale of an island that lies off the coast of the west of Ireland. The island is known as Hy-Brasil. Geography nerds have debated the existence of this island for decades as of the most recent century, due to it appearing on several maps dated between the 14th and the 17th century. However, despite its appearance on those maps, Hy-Brasil has remained elusive and never conclusively located, thus enhancing its mythical status. Now, even with that being said, I wouldn't be making this video today if there wasn't a shred of reasonable doubt to prove the existence of the island, so let's go back to the 14th century where details of the island first emerged. The earliest known maps to highlight Hy-Brasil dates back to the year 1325 when renowned cartographer Angelino Dulcer depicted it as an island off the west of Ireland, complete with typical geographical features and even city markers. For the time, cartography was a pretty difficult field of trade. They didn't get to board ships on the regular, travel the world, and accurately document every coast, island, and landmass they encountered. They had to rely on travelers, traders, and explorers' second-hand knowledge, which was often exaggerated and sometimes gravely inaccurate. However, Angelino wasn't your ordinary cartographer. Oh no, he was highly respected, highly experienced, and his work depicted the earliest landmass mapped representations of the Canary Islands and much of the Mediterranean. Basically, this guy knew what he was doing. So, when you see a remote island off the west coast of Ireland delicately drawn with the finest details by Angelino, then you know you're most likely gonna believe it exists. So, the name of the island also supports its potential existence. Hy-Brasil in Gaelic translates as Hy-Brasil, meaning Clan of Brazil, an ancient Irish clan. It has absolutely nothing to do with Brazil the country, and the pronunciation is completely different. So the island began to appear on many maps and charts as the decades passed, with other cartographers using their own imagination in combination with the stories from sailors and explorers, as I mentioned previously with Angelino Dulcer. So it leaves some questions. What is it about the island that made it so famous today and also so famous back then? What makes this island so mysterious? What brings Hy-Brasil into question? Well, according to Irish folklore and the tales of sailors, Hy-Brasil was said to be shrouded in thick fog and mist, making it appear completely invisible to passing ships. Currents were so strong around the island that it made steering towards it near impossible, as the ships would all be driven in the opposite direction, away from its shores by the currents. One day, every 7 years, the mist would clear completely and reveal the island in all its glory. Tales of those who have claimed to have seen the island have described it as a paradise, a perfect utopia that is as beautiful as one could ever imagine. Stories of advanced civilizations and riches were added to make the story even more appealable, but those who actually do believe the island exists back then and even today prefer the more simple, practical explanation. However, there is no climate change or weather-based anomaly that occurs every 7 years off the west coast of Ireland that clears a dense mist to reveal a hidden location at sea. These questionable stories about the island didn't deter explorers from trying to locate Hy-Brasil, especially as the age of exploration itself was continuing to rise and evolve into the world we know today. Also, medieval superstition was at its peak, which only fueled the curiosities of these people hoping to find such a mysterious island. Notable figures such as John Cabot and later Expeditions from Bristol in 1480 and 1481 were motivated by these maps to find the island, hoping to discover new territories and expand European knowledge of the globe. In 1674, Captain John Nisbet gave one of the most well-known cited claims of visiting Hy-Brasil. John claims he didn't visit the island during the day the fog and mist cleared on the 7th year. His ship, he says, actually got lost in the dense fog, and he and his crew stumbled upon the island. He said it was inhabited by large black rabbits and a mysterious magician who lived alone in a castle at the center point of the island. John gave very detailed coordinates of where they landed in his notes about the experience. In the same year, and upon studying Nisbet's notes, Captain Alexander Johnson sailed with the recorded coordinates, and he too claimed to have found the island, confirming Nisbet's observations. In 1700, Captain Thomas Hills reported seeing the island during his voyage into the Atlantic. He didn't dock at the island, but simply passed it by. In the early 18th century, respected Admiral Richard William also claimed to have seen Hy-Brasil and documented it in his journal. This sighting alone highly influenced the island appearing on current maps due to the Admiral's highly decorated and respected naval status. What is probably the best, most widely known first-hand account of seeing the island was from Irish folklorist and archaeologist T.J. Westropp, who described the island as an illusion when he says, "I myself have seen the illusion some 3 times in my boyhood, and even made a rough coloured sketch after the last event in the summer of 1872. It was a clear evening with a fine golden sunset, when just as the sun went down, a dark island suddenly appeared far out to sea, but not on the horizon. It had 2 hills, one wooded. Between these, from a low plain, rose towers and curls of smoke. My mother, brother Ralph Hugh Westropp, and several friends saw it at the same time." So, did they really see it? Or was it just that one day in a 7-year moment that the island revealed itself to them? But the overhanging question still remains. What actually happened to Hy-Brasil? Was it ever real? It all depends on what theory you choose to believe. Many argue that the island was just made up by explorers wanting to receive more funds by backers to continue their journey of discovery across the vast ocean. Some believe that the island was just confused with other islands in the area, closer to the coast. There's one interesting theory that states the island originally sat on Porcupine Bank, but was subject to an earthquake that sank it. Now, that would be believable if there was a reported earthquake at the time. There wasn't. In addition to the fact that an earthquake large enough to devour an island of that apparent size would have caused a tsunami so large it would have covered every other island off the coast of Ireland completely, and probably a good portion of Ireland too. The most probable explanation for the sighting of Hy-Brasil was that it was most likely a mirage, creating the illusion of an island as the sun rose and set against the reflection of the sea. So I will leave you with this. Is Hy-Brasil real? Or is it one of the biggest mistakes ever made in cartography history? Let me know in the comments below.